Hello and welcome back to Jack's Coffee Break. My name is Jack, and today we are going to be talking about the Europe DLC. Not to be mistaken with the Eurasia DLC, that's different. So in this one we're going to be looking at all of the different build parts and of course all of the animals that were released in this pack. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, now let's talk about the pack that welcomed me back to Planet Zoo once I could finally actually play again. So, when this game launched, I bought it immediately, found out that my computer didn't have a graphics card, and then had to wait like 2 years before I actually could afford the graphics card and play, just because of how things lined up with the 2020 situation, let's put it nicely. Up until this pack, I'd really only been thinking about Planet Zoo as a zoo builder. It had not crossed my mind that it could ever be anything more than that. This is the pack that showed me otherwise. This is the pack that made me realize that Planet Zoo is a build whatever the heck you want simulator with animals in it. And if you start thinking about it like that, I mean, you get so much flexibility, you know. So there are a few things that this pack does really well. For the most part, you actually have everything that you need in order to build in the European style. This is all just pre-existing wooden beams. This is plaster. These are classic windows. The shutters are new. This overhang is new. I believe these wall, or this like door crenellation thing is new. And then the little shields. But otherwise, oh yeah, and the cobblestone is new. But there's a lot of this that you could achieve in base game. What the European pack is doing is it's just bringing in those little extra pieces that you needed in order to make your European places, like your European settings, pop. It also adds in a lot of decals, so I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see this weathering. This is not something special to, like, you know, the 4x4 build kit. These are actual decals that are on these buildings. So I can, like, move this around and you can see. So, the decals add the ability to add weathering, which I think is something that this game desperately needed. It needed to have some way to track a sense of age, because otherwise everything feels too clean and too polished. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you need that little bit of extra character. The Europe pack lets you do that through their decals. So here's just a small selection of them. I didn't put down the whole thing. You even have, this was originally like a green moss, and you can recolor it to be like this kind of grime stuff. Next you get a whole bunch of heraldry. You get some bells, some fleur-de-lis. You get a ton of little tube lights, tons of little banner, like flags and all that kind of stuff. You get these wonderful neon tube lights. Little glow, like, street signs for all the different animals. This is the first time also where I felt like all of the animals were kind of telling, like, they were part of a story, almost. This has something of like, the kid's book kind of vibe about it. And we'll see this as sort of a motif, but all of the animals have this very, like, you know, dancing and music kind of, like, not quite Fiddler on the Roof, but it does remind me of that vibe. And that really attracted me to this. You get tons of LED stuff, little bits and bobs. I think I had this lantern at my wedding. Shutters. And then a ton of bridge building pieces. So if you were struggling to build bridges before and you wish that there was an easier way, here you go. This one over here can even work as part of a path, which is really nice. Little front-facing items. This is really nice for if you want to recreate, like, sort of Dutch cities, like Amsterdam, and a few others. These are really nice for that. Nice big old cinder block, in case you just need cinder block for whatever reason. So we don't get traditional signs again. This is right at the cusp of the weirdness where they weren't giving us real signs, but they were trying to. So what we get instead are these stained glass panels, as well as these little edge pieces with all this fine decoration. And these really are like transparent. I've got this clock tower over here. Here we are, so you can see them shining through the light. I really like it. I think it's just cute. And then we have these kind of build and pose your own signs, which is not my favorite, honestly, but you know, it was a style they were playing around with. It is nice that they're posable. You get a lot more utility out of them that way. Possibly one of the biggest things in the pack, you have extra entrances. So you have the closed and open versions of both the party bus thing, and then the, like, private yacht boat style shuttle thing. We've also got them open, so this one, the side door is open, and then it snaps to the ground, and this acts as a replacement for your zoo entrance. Same thing with this. This is really nice if you want a water entrance, specifically. Which there is now a map to do that with. When we get there, I'll talk more about it. We also get this cute little truck. My only complaint is that I wish that we could have had a version with this little flap closed, but we get a nice little food truck that you can use with the guest facility stands. Not the boxes, but the little flat stands. That's what this was originally intended for. Also, lots of marquee pieces. And then, of course, I believe I showed off the FlexiColor stone. I don't think we get a roofing set, like a dedicated roofing set with this. Could be wrong. Pretty sure we don't. So let's go look at our animals, and then I will give you our overview. So, very conveniently for us, we have most of them in one little spot. So this is the Eurasian lynx. They look really good. I wish that we'd gotten like an American bobcat, but considering how few European animals we really have in game, this is a wonderful addition. Very fun to build for. I end up typically building castles for these guys, and they do great in them. Next we have the ibex. Yeah, this is the alpine ibex. Appropriately goat-like. So this is the female. Over here is the male. Let me see if I can get you in the light. This is a little bit better. They have their own dedicated... I don't think I have it out, but they have their own dedicated enrichment item. It's this big old rock, and they will jump up onto the different stages of the rock and then, like, strut, and then they'll hop back down. It's really cool looking. We have the European fallow deer, which this was our first deer to get in game. We hadn't gotten the red deer yet. That was an anniversary release. Very pretty animals. Really just nice looking. Over here you can see the males with their very distinctive horns. They're not elk or caribou. They are a deer species, but they're very striking. And also with the spots, that kind of sets them apart as well. And then lastly, over here, we have the European badger. Synonymous with Great Britain. It is the most badger that ever did badger. These guys are, again, because of the fact that they're small animals, they're very flexible. They do take up a little bit more room, but I find that because they're just a little bit more, like, visually personable, they're a little bit easier to add into my zoos than, say, prairie dogs or meerkats or anything like that. Overall, I would say that the animals of this pack are just fantastic. Easily one of my favorite selections out of the game so far. Before I forget, you'll probably want to see the fire salamander. So here it is. It's quite the small thing. But again, the texturing is really good. They're very vibrant. Really no complaints with these guys. We also get a little bit of foliage. So we get cork oak trees. We get these olive trees, which look just fey and ancient and weird. I really, really like them. I think they're cool looking. And then, of course, we get the London plane tree, which is, it's very... Like, if I were to go walking in a park, this is the tree I expect to find there, you know? Very good selection overall. Just very solid. Really no ground covering, it's just trees. So, I have to say, for this being the DLC pack that welcomed me back into the game, I think that it was an absolute win. For me specifically, because of the way that I like to build. I like to build buildings and cities and all that kind of stuff, and this is just the pack that I needed in order to push all of my builds that little bit farther. And if you are like me and you like to build in that kind of manner, or you like to add aging and weathering, or you like to build LEDs and really just go off the wall with it, I really, really recommend this pack. I think that you're going to get a ton of usage out of it, and you're not even going to realize all the different places. Now, can you get away with not having this pack and still building cities? Absolutely you can. You know, none of these pieces are truly mandatory. You can make things work. This pack really just helps to, in a lot of ways, inspire and just give you that little nudge you need in order to really make these ideas come to life. So for that, I give this pack a very, very strong rating. If you're the kind of person who didn't need that nudge, who is already building cities, and who has found all of their workarounds, you may find this a little bit lackluster, you know. There are some build pieces that are going to help make your life easier. You know, these front pieces are very nice and time-saving. These concrete pieces, these blend in really well with breeze block and actually give a utility to that build kit that I find is typically lacking. All these different arches, paneling, the fencing, it can potentially just push your builds just that little bit farther. Not strictly necessary, but I personally love it. And of course, for you, it may definitely come down to the animals. If you really like deer and ibexes and, you know, bobcats, or not bobcats, lynxes and badgers, you know, this is going to be a great pack for you. Otherwise, it may feel just a little bit too themed for these animals. That is one of the downsides. Likewise, we don't get traditional signs, we get these, you know, build your owns, and these can be very finicky to work with. I recommend turning on all the different snapping, so that way it's just a little bit easier to put together. If you need this pack, you already know you need it. If you don't need this pack, you've already figured out how to make it work. And if you really want water entrances, this is the best way to do it. But I believe that covers everything that I really have to say right now about the Europe pack. It's easily one of my favorites, but it's definitely one that ages a little bit weirdly, I think. If you really like to build cities, then I think you're really going to get a lot of use out of this. If not, you know, it's definitely got some fun animals. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Stay safe, have fun, and of course, happy building.